Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined, as always, by the man who's just been showing me his championship belt made of Moroccan leather. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
I feel like we haven't recorded in a really long time, but it has been the normal 14-day turnaround. I think it's because I've been quite busy over the last 2 weeks. It feels as though it's longer.
It is strange you say that. I felt exactly the same when we were just having a chat and recording and setting up, and I was like, feels like it's been a lot longer. But no, we recorded on the Friday night, so it's been 16 days since we last recorded, but it's still been the usual schedule. But yeah, I feel the same. Feels like ages.
Yeah. I mean, I have been busy, as I mentioned. One of the things that I've been busy doing is moving house. And so
how's that gone?
It's gone okay. Obviously, moving house is always stressful. So I used to record in the spare bedroom in the old house. I now have a sort of, not a purpose built, but because the room was actually built for a maid to sleep in. But I've got like my own little recording room, and it's somewhat reminiscent. I feel a bit like Andy Crane in the broom cupboard on CBBC. I feel like I should have like a puppet duck on my right, and I'm doing continuity between Grange Hill and Newsround.
Who did you prefer, Ed the Duck or Gordon the Gopher?
I've preferred Ed the Duck, but I was thinking earlier, I'm going to mention that my new little office feels a bit like the broom cupboard. And I thought, I can't say that I feel like Philip Schofield, because obviously he's now been disgraced for his appalling behaviour on This Morning. And I thought, well, if Philip Schofield's ruined his career, then surely he's also ruined the career of Gordon the Gopher as well, because Gordon the Gopher went with Philip Schofield from the broom cupboard to Going Live, and he's, I never had him on This Morning, so it just goes to show another shitty aspect of Phil Schofield's character, leaving one of the guys that was with him at the start behind. But yeah, no more gigs for Gordon.
There was all those memes that went around, wasn't there, when the Philip Schofield sort of scandal broke, and it was like Gordon the Gopher, saying Philip had his hand up my bum.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, and I did a little test recording earlier. I've got like the walls padded in front of me. You can't see them on the camera, but in front of me they're padded with pillows. The ceiling is reasonably high, but despite of that, the acoustics for podcast recording are not bad. Better than I would say the bigger bedroom.
Well, I'll be the judge of that when I come to editing it, Greg.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know.
Excellent.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so of course the big news before we get onto the news at the moment, the Euros started on Friday. I didn't go into the game expecting a victory for Scotland, but it would also be fair that I didn't go into the game expecting to get our absolute shorts pulled down in Munich either.
The optimism kind of took hold of me. I wasn't expecting to win, but I was expecting maybe a 0-0 or a 1-1.
Yeah.
Or maybe a narrow defeat, but didn't expect to get absolutely spanked like we did. So never mind. Let's not mention too much of it, because that'll date the podcast, and I don't really want to talk about it.
No, I know. Well, the only thing I will say before we stop talking about it is Germany do look very good. So
do they, or did we just look terrible? That's the question.
Well, I guess we'll find out when both teams play their next games, rather. But I thought Germany looked pretty good out there.
By the time this podcast comes out, we'll have played all 3 games and we'll be on the plane home. So it's...
Indeed. Well, who knows? As Steve Clark says, just enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. I wanted to ask you a very quick question, and it's something that came up. So about a week and a half ago now, I went to a concert. I went to see Dogstar, which is Keanu Reeves' band, who you saw, I think, in the early 90s, didn't you?
The mid-90s, 1996, Tina Park, I think.
So it was great. They were a great gig. Keanu didn't say a word the whole night. I reckon about 85% of the audience were there just to see Keanu. Yeah. Because it was kind of one of the quietest gigs I've ever been to, because hardly anyone was singing along. I sang along to a couple of songs because I did, listen to that. I do quite like Dogstar. Yeah. But it was obvious everyone was just there for Keanu. But this led me to a question, and I want to see if we're on the same page as this. It's kind of an unwritten rule, isn't it? That if you're going to see a band, you don't wear the t-shirt of that band, because there were a few people there wearing like old Dogstar t-shirts. Right. And I kind of I don't think it's etiquette to do that. Is it, or do you think differently?
Now, the last concert I went to was Guns N' Roses, and there was a lot of people wearing Guns N' Roses t-shirts, but I'm trying to think back to when I used to go to gigs when I was younger, around about the time that I would have seen Dogstar. I think people would... I remember being at T in the Park and watching Cast on the main stage, and I remember admiring someone's Cast t-shirt, so I quite liked it. It's quite a nice design, but I'm not really sure if there's an etiquette. Is this the same etiquette as wearing matching brands at the gym, or?
Yeah. Exactly. I just thought it was always kind of like a not the thing to do. However, I would say one step further from that. I think it's not etiquette. Now, I saw at least 5 or 6 people wearing a Dogstar t-shirt that they had bought on the night.
Now that, I think that's, yeah. Because then...
I saw a 40-year-old man buy a t-shirt from the merch stall as I was looking at the merch stall. Mm-hmm. Then I went to go and put my jacket in a locker, and it just so happened his locker was near mine, and he took off the t-shirt he was wearing, which was like a plain black t-shirt, and put on the t-shirt he had just purchased, and then went in. Now, I could understand if you bought a t-shirt and there's no locker facilities and you don't want to stand with it in your hand all night.
Yeah.
Well, then you just crumple it up and put it in your pocket.
Exactly.
Like, I couldn't buy, like, even if I buy something from a clothes shop or online or something, okay, I'll try it on, see if it fits. Then the first thing I do, put it in the wash, because I don't know who's tried that on before me or where it's been.
Exactly.
But he's just putting that t-shirt on his bare skin and sweating in it that night. Yeah, so I thought that was a bit off.
The only t-shirt that I think I've ever bought at a gig, and I did buy it on the way out, was a Charlatans t-shirt when they played at the Beach Ballroom in Aberdeen. They were 1995. I bought a t-shirt on my way out that night. But I remember purposefully, because obviously in these modern times and with European efficiency, having a locker and stuff to put your stuff in at a gig is a fantastic idea. Unfortunately, promoters and venue managers weren't as progressively sort of thinking back in the mid-90s. So to your point, if you had to buy something, if you bought a t-shirt beforehand, you'd have to carry it about with you all night. There's a good chance that you're going to have a few beers, then you run the risk of maybe putting it down and forgetting about it, or losing it, or you know, when the bouncer throws you out of Ocean Colour Scene for crowd surfing, you know, it might fall out of your Duke, and then somebody else has got an Ocean Colour Scene t-shirt. Although I suppose you would have probably burnt that Ocean Colour Scene t-shirt outside of the venue if you had bought one that night, right?
I would have set fire to it and then urinated on it, definitely. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I used to buy t-shirts at concerts, but like, I have to admit, one of the t-shirts on sale at Dogstar, it was a pretty cool t-shirt, but like, I'm not paying €40 for a band t-shirt that I'm never going to wear.
No.
Like, I think I did, when I went to see Guns N' Roses in Abu Dhabi, I bought a Guns N' Roses t-shirt because it was like a once in a lifetime, you know, and I was like, that's a great kind of
souvenir
thing.
Yeah.
I've never worn it.
No.
It's in a vacuum packed bag, but I've got it. I might dig that out. I might start wearing that, actually, just to... Enough time's passed that it's kind of cool now, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to check, but I thought that was the case. Never mind. That's a good update, actually. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, they're on the Ellis James and John Robbins podcast. They were talking to a guy a few months ago who... He's been going to gigs since, I think he said, the mid-1980s. And he'd bought a t-shirt at every single gig he'd been to. And he'd been to a few, like, quite famous ones. Like, I think he'd been to see Guns N' Roses at Donington, which was at 86 or 87, which was quite a famous concert. He had all these t-shirts, like almost 40 years worth of t-shirts, and his wife made him get rid of them because we're taking them.
Oh, scandalous. Never. A quick update. Have you been wearing matching outfits to the gym?
No, I've been purposefully not doing that at the gym, and I've been, obviously, because I had that was in my mind, I've been sort of paying attention to fellow gym patrons to see if I can detect any kind of reaction, and I've come to the conclusion that no one's really looking at me anyway, you know, like, because I only go to the gym to run, I do sort of probably spend more time watching other people work out than maybe the average gym user does, because when you're running, I've got my headphones in, I'm just like looking around as I'm running because I'm not going to run with my eyes closed. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think anybody's really paying attention to me. I think that was
definitely not.
I think that was my old neighbour's personal prejudice.
Yeah, I would say so. Never mind. Okay, right. Shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks?
Let's absolutely do it. Cue the jingle.
What? 'Cause 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 ' This is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen in the newspapers over the last couple of weeks? And I'll be honest, it's been tough because week 1, it was just Taylor Swift news.
Yeah, it was.
And week 2, it's been all Scotland at the Euros news. But have you seen anything else or are they associated with those two things? That's fine. In the news over the last couple of weeks.
So my first article combines Taylor Swift news and Scotland in the Euros news.
Two of my favourite things.
So this is from the Daily Record on the 14th of June. Spoonbender Uri Geller using Taylor Swift's guitar and a brick to bring good energy to Scotland ahead of the Germany clash. So obviously what we spoke about not 5 minutes ago somewhat dates this article quite quickly. Self-proclaimed psychic Uri Geller, doesn't say self-proclaimed, I added that bit in myself, is using Taylor Swift's guitar, a Scottish brick, and the spoon of none other than Robert the Bruce to bring good energy to Scotland ahead of their clash with Germany. Steve Clarke's men took on the Euros hosts in Munich on Friday night. Got absolutely pumped. In a video message sent to the Daily Record, the 77-year-old said, "Hi, my dear Scottish friends all over Scotland, including my own football team Lambie in North Berwick. Listen carefully today. I will be concentrating with all my energies and hopefully Scotland will win." Donning his 1998 Scotland shirt, he also referred to singer Taylor Swift's record-breaking concerts in Murrayfield, and he said, "I'm not a miracle worker, but listen, I've got in my Cadillac, if you turn around, the spoon of Robert the Bruce right above here. I've got Taylor Swift's guitar signed for my museum. You know why? Because Taylor Swift, when she played in Edinburgh, you danced so hard, it registered as seismic activity. Do you want to do that tonight? Yes. Send your power, energy, everything you have, whatever you can visualise, you can materialise." Picking up a brick that he found at his home in Israel. So that's what's fucked it, Uri. All that bad energy from Israel that's going on at the moment. Picking up a brick that he found at his home in Israel with the words "fourth" on it, he added, "You know why I'm holding this brick? This is a Scottish brick. The Scottish brick was found inside my museum in the dungeons, under the ground." Why has he got dungeons under his museum?
He used to hang out with Michael Jackson.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. I always wondered who inherited the Elephant Man's bones. Uri, who you and I will remember very well, was vilified for allegedly moving the ball from a helicopter above Wembley using his energy during Scotland's Euro 96 clash against England, making Gary McAllister miss a penalty, added that he'd be helping Scotland this time around. He said, "Remember I moved the ball away from Gary McAllister?" No, you never, Uri. I don't know.
The ball did move.
Yeah, but not because he moved it. Come on.
No, of course not. It was just a gust of wind. But
yes.
Of course,
Well,
he claims that he moved it and Scotland's never forgiven him for it. And he's been trying to suck up our arse ever since.
Yeah, he's completely blown up in his face. Clearly, since his Israel brick and Taylor Swift's guitar has not done the business that we need it to do. He did say that if Scotland gets a penalty, he would have done his best to make the ball move.
We need to get in the fucking box first.
I know, exactly. I mean, there was a penalty. It was just at the wrong end of the park, unfortunately. So yeah, Uri Geller. So for people who are listening, perhaps people in Canada, like Strong Henry, may not know who Uri Geller is. He's an Israeli guy who's been in the British media for maybe as long as I can remember. Claims to be psychic. There's you can go on YouTube and watch him bending spoons. I hope he never bent Robert the Bruce's spoon. And just by rubbing the sort of neck of the spoon and supposedly using his psychic energy, he did cost Scotland the game against England in the 1996 Euros. Sounds like he's fucked us up again with his bad energy against Germany.
I mean, what else? I mean, Uri Geller, obviously, you say everyone our age knows who Uri Geller is, but apart from being a spoon bender and making McAllister, moving the ball and appearing on I'm a Celebrity, being very close friends with Michael Jackson, what the fuck else has he done? I mean, what else does Uri Geller do?
4 reasonable achievements there, I would say. I don't know, he sort of belongs to that sort of odd kind of group of people who used to sort of pop up on the TV in the 1980s and 1990s, like David Icke, Giles Brandreth.
At least David Icke was a footballer. At least he had a proper career before he became a conspiracy theory mentalist.
But I know, but they would just sort of roll these guys out, wouldn't they? Like, they would show up on, he would be on like TVAM with like Jimmy Greaves and Spit the Dog, or, you know.
Why did Jimmy Greaves have Spit the Dog?
I'm going to have Bob Carroll's on. They just have somebody on. Like, you remember, like, Jimmy Greaves he had a bit of a gig on TVAM, just sort of talking about what had been good on the telly that week. Remember? On a Friday. He did. I'm not making it up, honestly.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, Jimmy Greaves would be on and with like Anne Diamond and that, and he would just say, oh, you know, like I watched, I don't know, whatever, Boys in the Black stuff there on BBC the other night, or whatever. I just sort of talk about what was good and what wasn't so good, and plug St and Greavesy on the Saturday. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for me and Ian St John on our weekly football show. And you know, and normally these guys like Geller and Icke and Carol Cheese and Giles Brandreth and all these fucking, like Christopher Biggins, all these sort of weird sort of celebrities, just kind of, I guess, sort of like time fillers, I think, if they were struggling to do the full sort of show run, you know?
Yeah.
Get Biggins on for 20 minutes, talk about some play you've never heard of, like he's starring in.
I did see Biggins was in the paper the other day complaining that I'm a Celebrity is no longer any good because there's no celebrities on it. Not like when he won it. And I'm like, really, Biggins? You bigging yourself up like that? Like I think he thinks he's like fucking, I don't know, Taylor Swift or something. Like Christopher Biggins.
The thing, whenever I think of Christopher Biggins, which admittedly isn't very often, but when I do, the thing that always comes to mind is he used to host a kids game show called Jungle Run or something like that. It was called Gillian, what's her name that was on EastEnders was his like assistant. He plays Kathy Tailforth. That was it. I couldn't think of her name.
One who got caught sucking off her boyfriend in a lay-by.
Yeah, exactly. The very same. But yeah, they used to, when it was one of these sort of stereotypical gungy 80s kids shows, I used to quite like it. You know, they do the studio out to look like the jungle, and he was the host with these wacky glasses and his glamorous Gillian telling the kids what to do. You can watch it on YouTube if you're interested. I watched it a couple of years ago.
I definitely won't.
I tell you, the young Gillian Tailforth, very attractive young woman.
Maybe I'll give it a watch then. I did quite like Gillian Tailforth, actually.
Yeah,
like Kathy. Yeah.
Especially when you knew what she was up for. Anyway.
Oh well. So thanks, Uri. Thanks for nothing, you fucking spoon-bending weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, anyway, enough chat about Uri. What's your first story this week?
My first story is from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and the headline is Cage Flighters. I take my pet parrots for walks around town on a lead, and I've even included them in my will. A woman who takes her 3 pet birds for walks has defended her wacky habit, saying they do not belong in a cage. Laura Daly and partner Keo Houghton, 29, are the proud owners of 5 birds, including 2 budgies called Milo and Evie, an albino cockatiel called Nia, a blue Indian ringneck parrot named Pablo, and Sisu, a green wing macaw parrot. Why are you laughing at Sisu?
I was laughing at Pablo.
Every day, Laura, 25, turns heads as she puts a harness and leash on her 3 exotic birds, Nia, Pablo and Sisu, and takes her feathered friends for a walk. Laura says her usual 10-minute route can take up to 2 hours when she's with her birds because of the number of people who stop for a chat and to pet the birds. She told the Scottish Sun, "They absolutely love coming out for a walk. People have asked me why I do it, but they want and need exercise and fresh air like any other pet. When they know it's time for a walk, Nia will pace the floor in her cage, and Sisu actually tries to escape to get me." Laura says her birds are so special to her that she has even included them in her will. She said, "The smaller 2 will live for 20 to 40 years, but Sisu has a 70 to 80 year life expectancy. So she'll probably outlive me, and I want to make sure they're looked after. So basically, they'll get everything." Laura's first bird, Nia, who she got 5 years ago, followed by the budgies Pablo, and finally, most recently, Sisu. Laura says the minute she got Nia, she decided she would take her out for regular walks. Laura says the attention she gets when she's out for a stroll has grown with every bird she has brought into her home. She said, people do think it's strange, but I don't think birds belong in cages all day long. Sometimes people just can't believe I'm out walking my birds, but it's good for them and they love it. But do her feathered friends try to spread their wings when they're out and about? She said, they do sometimes try and take flight and are able to fly up to about 2 meters, but that's why I keep them in a harness and a lead. Yeah, they're probably trying to fucking escape you, Laura. Yeah. And yeah, that's the story. Some woman takes her birds out in a lead. Like, that's what?
Weird. Huh.
Like, what? I mean, I can see maybe she just wants to give them fresh air, but then a harness. Like, come on. So the birds are trying to take flight and then what? She just pulls them back down. No, it's like a helium balloon or something. Now, and there's a photo of Laura there with all her birds.
When I first moved to Dubai, I remember I was driving on the Palm and I stopped at a crossing for someone to cross the road. It's an African girl. And she had a parrot on her head. And I thought to myself, and it was a real parrot, because I did a real double take. I thought, at first I thought it might be some sort of elaborate sort of headwear. But it wasn't. It was like a small parrot on her head. And my wife Paula said maybe she sort of got it tied by one of its legs to her hair. And I thought, yeah, maybe. But then I thought, well, what if it tries to take off? That's going to be like really sore. And
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know, I sort of get it. I mean, I've never been somebody who would have a pet bird because I do think it's, and no offence to anybody listening who does keep pet birds, but I think it's maybe a bit cruel keeping a bird in a cage. And it's not really practical letting them fly around in your house either.
No.
So, I remember like a girl that I lived with in Aberdeen for a couple of years, her grandfather passed away and she inherited his budgie, whose name was Andrew, and it just like, you'd be sitting watching the telly. I know. I thought it was funny that his name was Andrew too, but I couldn't really think why. I thought it's a funny name for it's a funny name for a budgie, Andrew, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And I used to always put his cage in the bedroom when we were watching the TV because he just made a lot of noise and I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't concentrate on the telly.
Andrew, will you shut the fuck up?
Yeah. Well, I was always nice to him because obviously he was grieving too. Do you know what I mean? His owner had passed.
Of course. Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, that's very true.
But no, I mean, that's the only time that I've ever lived in a house with a pet bird. Did you ever have anything like that growing up? Your mum keep budgies?
No, I'm not a fan of that at all. Like I say, no offence to anyone that does keep pet birds, but yeah, I think it's a bit cruel and I don't see the kind of appeal of that. I'm sure I've told the story on the podcast before, but I remember going into my local pub in Dubai one night and going up to the bar and then kind of turning round and sat in the corner was this Arabic gentleman having a bottle of Heineken with a falcon on his arm.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting having a beer thinking, there's a fucking bird of prey just sat over there. Could easily just fly over and rip my throat out. But
well, that's what you need to worry about with them is... Like, and somebody told me this, I believe this to be true, that when they shite, it can go for like 30, 40 metres.
Well, I think I remember you saying that before, actually.
Yeah, because when you're flying around the Gulf, sometimes they take them on the plane with them.
Yeah.
If it's a short flight, it's like an hour and a half or something, they'll take them. So I mean, their arms must fucking kill because they're not light. These falcons are heavy. We were at some Arabic thing years and years ago, and the guys with the falcons were there, and you could like put the big gauntlet on and get your picture taken with one in your arm. And my daughter Macy did it, and she must have been about 10, and she literally had to. It was like the bird on her right arm and her left arm supporting her right arm because she said they were so heavy, But then she was a 10-year-old girl, so they're not that heavy.
Oh, never mind. Well, that is Laura and her birds that she takes out for a walk. So, what else have you seen this week, Greg?
So, my next story is also a football story, but it's not got anything to do with the Euros. It's from the Scottish Sun on the 15th of June, and the headline is Cutie Pie. Cutie Pie. We named our daughter after Celtic legend grandfather, but birth certificate blunder left her named after the bakery snack. So, Patsy Gallagher, his great-great-granddaughter is at the centre of a birth certificate blunder after staff wrongly registered her as Pasty. James Gallagher and his wife Abby, who is here in the picture and is holding up the birth certificate and is full raging. They had vowed to name their firstborn in honour of her famous ancestor, who scored 186 times and 491 appearances for the Hoops. But they were horrified to learn that she ended up sharing her name with the Cornish baked treat on her birth certificate after the howler was flagged up by none other than the Scottish Sun. Abby said, "I thought it must be a wind-up, but then I dug out the birth certificate and I just thought, oh my god, it made me so angry. You trust these people to get things like this right? We spent so much time picking the name as a tribute and it feels like a slap in the face." The couple of Clydebank near Glasgow were thrilled when their daughter arrived in March 2023. Abby phoned West Dunbartonshire Council to register her because their in-person services had still not fully opened after the pandemic. But she had no reason to suspect that the baby didn't carry the name of the late footy hero who starred for Celtic between 1911 and 1925. I wanted to make sure they got it right. The mistake was just carelessness. I called up the council to complain, but it took hours to get any response. Finally, they apologised. They came over that day with flowers and a new birth certificate, but I don't think they understand the upset they caused us. What kind of little girl was called Pasty? Ironically, Dad James works for Rogers Butchers in Glasgow's West End, who are known for their quality pasties, apparently. He said, "Patsy Gallagher was my mum's granddad. We're very proud of. And Abby's gran Patricia was also called Patsy. Giving her baby that name seemed like the perfect way to honour her. This took the shine off it a bit. It was just so unbelievable. But when I told my pals, they couldn't stop laughing." A spokesman for West Dunbartonshire Council said, "We contacted the family to apologise for the error. This was corrected and they received a new birth certificate." What it doesn't say is that the council then went on to say, "We've already solved this last year. Don't really understand why it's in the paper over a year later." But as far as we're concerned, the subject's closed. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, it's not exactly like, it's not like your baby's been switched with another baby by accident at the hospital before you've come home. Do you know what I mean? It's just a wee typo in the birth certificate which has been corrected. So I don't know what all the fuss is about.
Well, it's one of those stories that we envisaged when we decided to do news on the Culture Swally. It's how the fuck did this make the newspaper? So there was a typo in a birth certificate, but it's already been rectified. She didn't even notice this.
No.
And it's been fine. Okay, there could have been trouble down the road when she needed to submit the birth certificate for a passport or something, or for school. Then there might have been a bit of a mix up there, but then you just contact them, get a new certificate. However, they rectified it before, so it's fine. And they sent her flowers as well. There was no need to do that.
Exactly.
Bloody taxpayers' money.
Got above and beyond there to sort it out. So, I mean, obviously what's happened here is they've thought, we're going to name the wee man after the great-great-grandfather. Then we'll write into the tabloids and tell them about the tribute, and maybe we'll get a wee bit of money for it. And then some eagle-eyed journalist has said, I don't think Pasty Gallagher ever played for Celtic. and the story's become something else entirely. That's what's happened. But anyway, it's all fixed. Maybe the wee fella will go on to play football professionally as well when he grows up.
Maybe, and he'll get the nickname Pasty.
He will. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Because the thing is, this story, because it's on the internet, this story is now here for perpetuity, right? For as long as the internet exists, this story is going to be here. At some point, this kid's going to grow up. So one of his pals is going to find this, and to your point, for perpetuity, the kid will be called Pasty.
Yeah, definitely.
By his pals.
Is it not a girl?
Oh, I don't know. Is it a girl?
Well, they've called it Patsy.
Yeah, but the granddad was called Patsy.
Yeah, but you're not going to call a boy Patsy nowadays, are you?
Oh, it is a wee girl. Well, maybe she'll go on to play for like Celtic Ladies or something.
Yeah. And then if she has a bad game, the headline will be
Pasty fucks it.
Pasty is fucking mince.
Yes. Anyway, that's my second and final story. What's your last one this week?
I've gone back old school, Greg. Let's go back old school and have a proper good old Swally story. So this is from the Falkirk Herald this week.
Of course.
The headline is contained. Larbert offender claimed he had a Kinder Egg hidden in an intimate place. A drunk offender who told police he had no fear of going into custody because he had a Kinder Egg hidden away up his rear end has now found himself contained overnight for the next few months. Mark Thompson, 26, appeared at Falkirk Sheriff Court on Thursday, having admitted threatening behaviour and assault at KFC Argyle Street, Glasgow on March the 13th, 2022. At a previous appearance, Procurator Fiscal Amy Snedden said, "It was 1:20am and the accused was within KFC in Glasgow when he became angry with a man. He slapped him across the face with the back of his hand. The accused was then escorted from the premises and police officers attended. He was taken towards the rear of the police van and began to become threatening and abusive towards officers." Again, why do people do that? During his rant, Thompson told an officer he was not concerned about going to prison because he would get a SIM card in jail, and claimed he had a Kinder Egg secreted inside his posterior. He then told the officer, "I'll bomb your car." At the time, John Mulholland, defenceless...
26, you say?
26, yeah. At the time, John Mulholland, defence solicitor, said he accepts this was disgraceful conduct and he only remembers it up to a certain point. During his previous appearance, it was stated that Thompson, 37, Karen View, Larbert, so if you want to go and visit John, yeah, was not prepared to comply with the restriction of liberty order. "I take it from that you are looking for a custodial sentence," said Sheriff Mayam Labak, noting from his earlier Kinder Egg comments that Thompson had no fear of going into custody. She deferred sentence until May the 30th for a supplementary criminal justice social work report to clarify Thompson's position regarding a restriction of liberty order, then placed Thompson on a community payback order with the condition he complete 225 hours of unpaid work within 18 months. She also placed him on a restriction of liberty order, meaning he must remain home from 7pm to 7am for the next 3 months. Noting the time of day he committed his offences, she said, "I think you could be doing with being contained during the night." So, "I'll get a SIM card in jail, I have a Kinder Egg up my bum." And then saying, "I'll bomb your car." So he doesn't say what, like, if there's anything in the Kinder Egg or if it's just a Kinder Egg that he's got up his bum. So
it's just for he's keeping secret things, keeping private things, isn't it?
I'll get maybe he's bragging because he's saying, "I'll get a SIM card in jail," and maybe he's saying, "Look, I can fit a Kinder Egg up my bum. I'll be fine in jail. The amount of stuff I can smuggle up there is fine." I mean, I'm sure after his time in jail, you'd be able to smuggle probably a fucking Easter egg up his arse.
Exactly. Yeah. Fabergé. The old prison wallet. Yeah, I mean, it's people are weird, right? So 26 years old. I mean, when you were 26, you were living in Dubai by that point?
No, I was still in Aberdeen. I was 27 when I moved to Dubai.
Okay, so you were almost living in Dubai. Yeah, good job. And there's somebody else who is threatening people in KFC in the middle of the night and telling a policeman he's going to bomb his car.
Yeah. It's not the done thing, really, is it?
I mean, it's not very smart, is it?
No, I think it's a...
And like we've said before, I mean, what's the best case outcome of telling a policeman you're going to bomb his car?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I've never found myself in a position that I've been in a police van or been in trouble with the police. But if that was to ever happen to me, I think I would just be complying, apologising, saying I was sorry, probably begging. I'm not going to be kicking off and saying, "I'm going to bomb your car. I've got a Kinder Egg up my arse. I'll get a SIM card in jail." No, definitely not. I think it's not the correct way to go about things.
No, indeed, silly bastard.
No. Anyway, well, so he'll be stuck at home. So we gave out his address. So if anyone wants to go and visit him, you know where he'll be, and he'll be there between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. most days for the next 3 months. So yeah, that's my final news story. You're done as well, are you, Greg?
I'm done as well.
Do you want a quick game of all right, big man? All right, wee man.
Definitely.
I'm
intrigued.
So we are in the Boozer, Greg, and next month we're in a Boozer in Edinburgh, Glasgow. Well, any of the Bobby the Barman Award winners. So we're sitting having a pint. And 6 Scottish Swally favourites, couples walk into the bar. As in not couples, but like 2 guys walk in.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me which one we're saying, all right, big man, and all right, wee man to. Basically, 6 pairs of actors, which one's the tallest is what I'm trying to go for. And I did originally envisage this as like a play your cards right. Are they taller or lower? But I couldn't get the format to work properly because it was all over the place. So, as a test run, we're sat at the bar and in walk the 2 Ewans, Ewan Stewart and Ewan McGregor. Are we saying, all right, big man, to Ewan Stewart or Ewan McGregor? And who are we saying, all right, wee man, to?
I feel like McGregor is maybe a wee bit taller than Stewart. I don't think he necessarily towers above him, but I think he towers above him enough for us to say, all right, big man, to McGregor.
Okay. Well, Ewan Stewart is billed, and I should point out, this is from IMDb. So if this is not correct, factually, this is from IMDb. I've used that as the official guideline for this game. Ewan Stewart is billed as 5'10" on IMDb, and Ewan McGregor is billed as 5'9" and 3/4.
Wow. So,
but if he was wearing Cuban heels, then maybe he would tower above Ewan Stewart.
McGregor likes to sort of spike up his hair as well, doesn't he? Maybe that's to make him appear taller.
Very true. I did laugh at that 3/4. It makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Whereas Ewan Stewart seems to favour the sort of close crop, doesn't he? Yeah.
Definitely.
Sensible haircut.
Okay, so we'll be saying, all right, big man, to Ewan Stewart. So they're off in the corner, and then in walks Kevin McKidd, and he's with Ron Donaghy.
Right.
Who was saying, all right, big man, to?
I think just because of his stature, we'd be saying, all right, big man, to Ron Donaghy, because even if he's not taller than McKidd, he's going to be broader. You know what I mean? He's a unit in Donaghy, whereas McKidd's got looks like a bit of more of an athletic sort of build to him. Donaghy's got sort of 1970s Saturday afternoon wrestling athletic qualities.
Okay, well, despite that, Kevin McKidd is billed as 5'11" on IMDb, and Ron Donaghy is 5'10".
Wow. Okay. I still think Donaghy would get called big man before big Kevin McKidd. Yeah. Maybe if we met them separately, McKidd would get big man. But I don't know, because I'm 6'1", so I'm taller than Kevin McKidd.
Well, this next pairing is probably the same kind of thing. Maybe I should have thought about this a bit more. I think this is going to be exactly the same. In walks the late great Robbie Coltrane, and he is with his pal Hollywood Gerard Butler. Who was saying, all right, big man, too? Again, we're probably going to say it to both of them, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely saying it to Robbie Coltrane, because he was a big man in every sense of the word, you know?
Yeah.
Butler, you know, I think Butler's just going to be, he's going to be in, I think he's going to be content just to walk in the shadow of Coltrane. You know what I mean? Even if he was a head taller than Robbie, I think he would visibly shrink in the presence of Coltrane.
Yeah.
And his talent.
I'd agree with you on that. Yeah. Well, Coltrane is listed as 6'1". Well, he was. He's obviously a lot shorter now.
Exactly.
And Hollywood Gerard Butler, now, we know they like to lie about their height a little bit. He is billed as 6'2".
Is that right?
Yeah, taller than Robbie Coltrane.
He always looks taller than everybody else on the screen, you know, like in The Vanishing. He did seem, you know, he certainly seemed to be the sort of tallest in that company of actors.
Fourth pairing to come in. It's Gary Lewis. And who's he with? He's with Brian Cox. Gary Lewis and Brian Cox. Who was saying, all right, big man, to?
I think we're saying it to Coxie, because I've met Gary Lewis, and he's not a very tall guy.
Gary Lewis is 5'6", Greg.
Yeah.
And Brian Cox is 5'6.5".
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow. I suppose
bigger.
He does.
Stature kind of thing.
Yeah. I suppose on Succession. Mind you, I don't think Kieran Culkin's very tall, is he?
In Succession, he sits down quite a lot.
He is sitting down a lot. He is. But when you see him standing like with Kieran Culkin, they seem about the same height. I don't think Kieran Culkin's very tall, but then the other actors are quite tall.
I mean, Matthew McFadden, he's pretty tall, I think.
Yeah. He's going to be in Deadpool, the new Deadpool film, Matthew McFadden.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So that's 4 pairings. We're going to leave them in the corner, Greg, because the last 2 pairings, we're gonna get a 6-seater table and we're gonna join these two pairings, and what a fucking night we'll have. So the fifth pairing is the late great Brian McCarty. And he has walked in with super lightweight himself, David Heyman. What a fucking pairing that would be.
I think McCarty will be a bit taller, because I've met Heyman as well. He is not a very tall actor. He's quite slight. That's what happens when you live off a diet of cheese sandwiches and warm kestrel. So I think probably McCarty was taller than Heyman.
McCarty was billed as 5'9", my height, Greg. And David Heyman, 5'8". Which I was quite surprised at. I thought he seemed a bit weird. But 5'8", yeah.
Yeah, I would contest that. I think he's probably smaller than 8, honestly.
So we're going to be sat with them, and then the last two come into the bar, and obviously we're shouting them over. Come on, give me a join us. In walks the patron saint of the Culture Swally, Sir James Cosmo. And he's walking in with Rab Affleck.
I mean, with no disrespect to Cosmo.
Don't ever disrespect Cosmo.
Affleck's always going to be big man everywhere he goes, isn't he? All right, big man.
I should have thought this game through a bit more, actually. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, he fucking pasted Liam Neeson, didn't he? In The Big Man. Like, he fucking leathered him. Yeah, I think probably Affleck is always going to be big man, isn't he?
Rab Affleck is billed as 6'1".
Wow, Greg. Same height as me.
Yeah, and James Cosmo, 6'2".
Wait, is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
So Cosmo's...
I have to pay a bit more attention to that in Train Spotting. I need to look at that next time and see, because Cosmo therefore is, 2, 3, 4 inches taller than Ewan McGregor?
Yeah, so in T2, when Renton goes to his dad and gives him a hug at the top of the stairs, then McGregor must be standing on something, because I'm pretty sure that he's a wee bit taller than Cosmo in that scene.
Unless Cosmo has shrunk a little bit, because they do say...
You get a bit shorter as you get older.
Yeah, maybe lose an inch or two. So that 6'2" could be an older stat. Yeah. Maybe but still now, you only lose a couple of inches, so he'd be about 6 foot, you would think, at least.
Still be tall.
So yeah.
He seems like in Highlander. He seems like a tall guy in Highlander.
Yeah.
I always thought, all right, well, good game.
Well, there you go. That's all right, big man. All right, wee man.
maybe people will say that to us when we're knocking about the bars of Glasgow in a couple of weeks in 27 days' time.
I'll be the wee man, obviously. Right. Well, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsor. And our sponsor is, of course, Doric Skateboards, a skateboard brand created by Gary Kemp, whose main focus is to explore the people and the culture of Aberdeen and the northeast of Scotland, and to create designs that reflect life in that area. Doric Skateboards screen print their own decks in their studio by Gary's fair hand, and they have produced some amazing designs over the years, including an Annie Lennox-inspired board, a Robert the Bruce deck, and a Plenty of Pop deck inspired by the old Bonaccord trucks that used to drive around Aberdeen delivering fizzy drinks. Doric Skateboards also replicate these amazing designs onto clothing, on 100% organic cotton tees, hoodies, sweatshirts, and you can also fill your boots on stickers, pin badges, beanies, and caps. Gary regularly collaborates with local artists to ensure that he brings the latest designs to the market, but always with a Doric twist, including the Ballater Toy Shop design, inspired by Scotland the What, which we actually need to cover quite soon, Greg. So check out Doric Skateboards for yourself on doricskateboards.com, and you can follow them on Instagram at Doric Skateboards to see all the amazing designs on offer. And we are delighted to be able to offer you 15% off as listeners to this podcast. All you need to do is head to doricskateboards.com, have a look at all the amazing decks, stickers, badges, hoodies and tees on offer, and enter the promo code SWALLY. That's SWALLY, same as the name of this podcast, and get your 15% off. That's doricskateboards.com, link in the description of this episode. Okay, Greg, so it was your choice this week on the Culture Swally. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
Well, it's a sporty episode of the Swally today. We've spoken a fair bit about football, what with the Euros and Scotland's participation, and old Patsy Gallagher. But the film that we're going to talk about now is not about football, rather it's about golf. And it's 2016's Tommy's Honour. It tells the true story of old Tom Morris and his son, young Tom Morris, and their complex relationship. It stars Peter Mullan as old Tom, Jack Louden, There's a tall actor. It's young Tom, and it's directed by, well, who you might call Wee Tam, but probably everybody knows him as It's Jason Connery, because that is actually his name. The film won the Best Feature Film at the 2016 Scottish BAFTAs. So I hadn't seen this. I didn't even know anything about this. A couple of months ago, I did a wee Google for Scottish films because I was having to think about what I would pick for my choices on the pods, and I saw this one. Quite interested in the true story behind it. It's quite well documented, particularly the achievements of old Tom. But I'd never seen it. I quite enjoyed it. I was quite surprised that it won the Best Feature Film at the Scottish BAFTAs. It must have been a bit of a slow year that year, because I don't know if it was that good. But I did enjoy it. What about you?
First time watching it as well. Obviously, I used to play golf. I haven't played golf for a while, but I used to play a lot and was immersed in golf. So I was aware of Tom Morris and, what he'd done in terms of the legend of the game and stuff. But it was very interesting to watch this story about Tom and his son. I think they missed a trick. They should have called it the Two Tommies. And I think that would have been a good name for the film. Might have got some more people in to watch it.
Peter Mullan in a pair of colourful braces.
As you know, I have an aversion to... We've often said on the pod, I've always said it's anything set pre-1960, but I want to actually change that. I think it's pre-1950, because... Okay. Obviously, Back to the Future is one of my favourite films, set in 1955. And when I think about it, I really like, American Graffiti, and I used to love Happy Days. So it's like a kind of going for a 50s. I'll go pre-50s, but I still have an aversion to anything pre-50s. I enjoyed this, actually. I do have some issues with it.
Yep.
I think it's a bit long. I think they focus on things that they don't need to focus on, and I would like them to have focused on a couple of other elements more. But in saying that it's a bit long, it did go by quite quickly. It's a gripping story. Obviously, it's brilliantly acted. Obviously, you know what you're getting with Peter Mullan. But I really did think that not just Mullan, but Jack Louden was great in it, and we'll obviously come on to talk about Ophelia Lovibond as well. I think, I'll be honest, the highlight for me was, I didn't really look up the cast list before this, and seeing Andy Gray popping up on multiple occasions, that was an absolute highlight for me. Yeah. But I did enjoy this. It's difficult to do sports movies. And there's not a lot of great movies about sport. You could think of a few. I mean, in terms of golf, obviously my favourite would be Caddyshack, but it's not really about the golf, is it?
No.
It's such. No. I mean, you've got Tin Cup and Legend of Bagger Vance and stuff, but other than that, there's not a lot of golf stuff, and sports movies are always difficult because it's difficult to replicate kind of sports in that on the screen. But so I can see why they've done this. It's a mix of, and I did listen to an interview with Jason Connery when he was discussing this, and he said, well, I don't want to make just a pure golf movie. I want to make it into a kind of family drama and the relationship between the Toms. And, effectively that's what this is. The movie's a mix of a sports movie, a family drama, romance, and a war of the classes as well, which I think they did pretty well in terms of getting that across.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I found the golf elements of it much more interesting than the whole class thing, and I mean, I mean, it's not like a massive secret. I mean, even now. Particularly certain clubs in Scotland, there is still a degree of snobbery that's around some of these old clubs like Glen Eagles, St Andrews, and stuff. It's never been golf. I don't think it's never been a particularly inclusive game. It's not something that you sort of pick up. If you're lucky enough to live near some big playing fields or something, maybe you can go with a 9-iron and knock a ball up and down. You know what I mean? If you don't have a course that you can go and play. I think one of the good things about Scotland that you don't necessarily see in England is that there's a lot of actually very good sort of pay and play courses where you can just go courses. Yeah, council courses, to give them their sort of local name. You don't That's not something that you find everywhere in the world.
No.
And so, the whole class thing in this, it's kind of like, well, fine, it's, young Tom is this sort of working class hero that goes on to teach these toffs a lesson and all that kind of thing. But the sort of apex of that part of the storyline, when he sort of confronts Captain Boothby about the money and stuff like that, it kind of just happens, and then all the old sort of gentleman members just seem to, well, that's that, and it's never really mentioned again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought parts of it were a wee bit weak. The whole, Ophelia Lovibond, she's great in it, but her name, she sounds like a Harry Potter character, Ophelia Lovibond. I've never, you know what I mean? It's I was like, that's not a real name, but she's good in it, and the whole sort of her as the older Margaret Drennan being courted by the younger young Tom and everything, and then the whole backstory about her having a baby before out of wedlock, and the whole thing with the church and everything. But all of that, there are moments in that storyline that are quite good, but it kind of feels a bit contrived, and the sort of U-turn that Jack's mother does. At first she won't even go to the wedding, and then she's leading the whole family out of church when the minister's giving it the biggin about how people live their lives in his sermon, obviously directed at the Morris family. Just after a sort of tough conversation that Meg has with her on Hogmanay. She suddenly puts aside all of her sort of Christian prejudices about women like Meg, accepts her into the family, and then falls out with her minister. I was like, I could have done without. I would have liked a bit more golf and maybe a little bit less melodrama, because the golf and stuff, it is done really well, and it's really, really, I found it really interesting, because I'd heard about old Tom, but I didn't really know a great deal about him. So I've been reading about him for the podcast and stuff, and it's fascinating. It's so interesting.
I would agree with you on that. I think this is obviously telling the story of young Tommy, so they did have to include Meg in it, because that's what they say. He effectively died of a broken heart.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that later. But so I think you had to include that element. However, I agree with you. I think it's if this film had decided to focus on the relationship between Tommy and Tom and golf, and that's kind of that's the story I want to see in a way, because Tom obviously thinks that Tom knows his place in life. He's not a gentleman. He works for the gentleman. He gets by playing golf and making golf balls, and he's effectively the head greenkeeper. And that's the thing they don't really develop in the film. He was a fucking amazing course designer as well. They mention it at the very end, but he designed so many courses. It's not like 70 courses he designed or something.
Well, that's the thing, right? So they do mention a bit about his course designing, but I made a list, and it's not even the full list, but if you did a sort of short list, a percentage, if you like, of the courses that he designed. So he designed the first ever 18-hole golf course in Forfar. He did King Gussie, Kinghorn, Kirkcaldy, Prestwick, Muirfield, the Jubilee course at St Andrews, Balcomie at Crail, Bridge of Allen, and he did courses. He designed courses in Ireland and in England. You know what I mean? And he was involved in setting up the Open Championship as well.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you just focused on the relationship between the two, because Tom knows his place, right? He works for these gentlemen. Whereas Tommy, he's a young upstart, and I think they say pretty much every professional athlete nowadays, especially golfers, owe what they're earning to Tommy, because he broke the mold and he did that. Now, I would have liked to have focused on that tussle between the two of them, of Tom, because there's like one scene really where he's like, kind of like, your life is here. You should be here.
Yeah.
You're going to effectively follow my footsteps. And Tommy's like, no, I'm going off to go to England and be a professional and earn shitloads of money. I'll send money back to you.
Yeah.
That would have been a great story, and then focusing on the golf aspect, because there's like large sections of the narrative that like Tom isn't in at all, and we're focusing on Tommy. Like there's parts of the film, like when he's with his mates and they're betting on the course, and he does the backspin and he's like, I'll do it again. Then that's never mentioned again, really. He doesn't use the backspin like any other time, so it's kind of like, well, what was the point of that scene? Just to show that he's a good golfer.
I'll be sending money home, Dad, just like you did. I will.
You work for your father, Tommy.
Working for another man, that's an altogether different matter. What do you know of Molesworth? What do you know of England?
I know they'll pay me twice your salary.
You think of nothing but yourself.
Dad, I don't want to spend my days on my knees, teeing up gentlemen who despise me, who think they're better than me. Can you not see that?
What do you think you'll be doing at Blackheath?
Making my own way!
I think I would like to trim down bits and focus more on Tom and that relationship. Like parts like showing the disabled brother, for example. Like it's never really gone into. You just see them sitting around the table, and then the next scene, well, a few scenes later, he's carrying a brother into this cart and off he goes. What's the point of that scene? Like, Is it to show the respect? Because Tommy says to his dad, "Oh, you did well with that cart," and Tom's like, "Well, it was your idea." So was that to show that he's giving him credit? But it felt like a weird afterthought, and it was almost like they'd shoehorned that in for some other scene. I don't want any of that. I don't want to see him and his mates singing Rule Britannia. I don't want to see them going to a brothel. I want to see golf. I want to see the relationship between Tom and Tommy. That's what this film should be about. More golf, more relationship with them, more Andy Gray, more fights in the bunker. That's what I want.
More fights in the bunker. Yeah, no, absolutely. And because the thing is, like, just sort of kind of jumping ahead, but the final match that Tommy plays in the film before the end is, you know, everyone in the film is talking about it as a match for the ages and all this, but it's literally about 10 minutes or 12 minutes. You know, like, there's very little tension or jeopardy. You know, it's snowing, Tommy wins by doing a wee trick shot at the end, but there's no sort of, you know, he's behind, the English guy's ahead. You know, there's a wee bit of drama when the Major tells him to stymie him, and kind of, because obviously this was before you could pick up your ball on the green and put down a coin or something, right, to mark your place. I guess the ball had to stay on the green, and then whoever was behind you had to play around you. So there's that little bit of drama there and then obviously Tommy kind of chips his ball over into and gets it in the hole to win. But you know, you'd have thought that would be like maybe the last at least 20 minutes of the film. You know, this dramatic head to head on the links course in the snow. You know, and it's literally like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's
if that even.
That's the way the film should be in terms of, you say, building up the tension. Even I'll try not to mention it too often, but even Caddyshack, you know, the build to that is a big match at the end, and the last 20 minutes is spent on the match. You're going hole by hole almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't need to see the whole 4 hours play, but just a quick, few hole 1, hole 2, type thing. The only thing really, because there's no tension, you get one point Andy Gray kind of is like, "Oh, how's the lad doing? Oh, he's 1 up," and you're like, well, but you're following them, so surely you know the fucking score. Is this just to communicate to the audience that 1 up? Surely you could have done it in a better way. But I agree with you. There's no tension. There's no kind of element, and even at as you say, the tension at the very end, stymie him, and then Tommy just knocks it over. But it doesn't even build up. Tommy just kind of walks up to it and then chips it over. Yeah. There's no like dramatic music or like, you'd think Tom would be like, "Oh, son, we're fucked." And Tommy's like, "It's okay, Dad, I've got it." And, dramatic music rises and then he chips, but no. I guess it's because he's obviously a bit, his wife and kid have just died, so he's not really feeling up to it and he's freezing. So... Yeah, maybe he's not in the mood for any banter and stuff. But there just seemed to be a lack of tension. I agree with you on that.
There's a wee bit of sort of lazy exposition. At the beginning, obviously we have that's a strong beginning of Mullan emerging from the sea. After just been swimming in the sea and meeting the journalist from the Times. And as they're walking, the journalist is basically rattling off everything that old Tom had achieved up to that point. Oh, you created the Open Championship. You designed the course at Prestwick. All right, okay. So this guy exists to tell me everything that the scriptwriter wants me to know about old Tom before we get into the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a wee bit of that, and then there's another wee bit. There's little kind of cheeky things like when Tommy's been playing the kind of bet with the guy with the bow and arrow as to whether he can hit his ball ball to where the arrow lies and everything, and he comes in with the idea for the golf quiver, because obviously the caddies at that point are all just carrying the clubs in their arms. They don't have like a bag as such like they do now. So there's a little bit of that, like a little, I suppose, to use modern parlance, maybe an Easter egg. Oh, don't we came up with a golf quiver?
Never mentioned again. They don't use the quiver at all. He's got this great idea, and then that's it. It's never mentioned again. That annoyed me.
Yeah.
And they do. Okay, I don't need to see everything, but it just skips a massive amount in terms of. And okay, I could see why they've done it to save a bit of time, but all of a sudden you've got Tommy just hitting balls about with his dad, and then boom, he's won the Open 3 times back to back.
Yeah, he's brilliant at golf. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, right, but you could have shown maybe a little bit more. Could you not have shown a little footage of each, instead of just the photograph of him saying that he's the Open winner, show a 3-minute clip of the tournament or something, just to have a little bit more, like a montage of, something to give me that, to get across that rather than just a photograph. I thought,
But to come back to your point there, what would have been more interesting would have been to see the sort of evolution of young Tommy's skills as a golfer. Because Jack Louden, no other actor plays the young Tommy in the film. It's just Jack Louden the whole time. So we're expected to believe in the first few scenes that he's 15 years old. Yes. You know what I mean? When old Tom wakes him up to get an early game in before they start work for the day and stuff.
The only difference is he doesn't have a moustache.
Yeah, he's supposed to be 15. He's fucking 7 foot tall. Bumping his head on the cottage ceiling as he gets out of bed, you know what I mean? But it would be more interesting to see, maybe if they had like a younger actor playing the young Tommy, even if it is like a kind of montage, to your point, if they're thinking about time, okay, well, let's just have like a little 2 or 3 minute montage of the kind of younger old Tom and young Tommy out in the course, and then the montage can sort of grow the kid into Jack Louden at a more sort of realistic age and then we'll get into the story, and then we understand, right, well, that this kid's a fucking golf prodigy, and we know we're straight in, because even that first time we see him play golf with his dad, there's not really a lot of points towards how good he is at golf. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's beat his dad at golf. But, unless you're familiar with the story of old Tom, we know by this point that he's been a great golfer, but, he's a bit of a spent force, but he's putting shite, right? He can't putt anymore,
Yeah, that's very true. That's the only kind of indication that you have, but you still think, Tom still won the Open. That's something that is kind of
glossed over.
Not really gone into and glossed over. Like, Tom won the Open, and then it was Tommy that won it the next year.
Yeah.
So it's not like, and then the years after that, it's not like Tom's completely shit now. He won the Open, and then his son beat him the next year. Fine, fair play.
Yeah.
And that's not really gone into. It's just, you're led to believe that Tom's shit now. And when Sam Neill's character comes in and says, "Oh, I lost £1,000 on you last time because your putting was shite," it's kind of like, well, okay, then. It's not his fault. The one thing I did like in terms of the character of Tom and Peter Mullan, though, Tommy's obviously overtaken him in terms of the level. And again, I don't know if I agree in terms of, when they're speaking and Tommy's saying he's going to go to England, Tom effectively says to him, "Look, I don't know how we would have survived the last couple of years without your money. Like, I couldn't have played to win in this." But you can see that Tom is really proud of Tommy. He's not bitter. Yeah. He's not jealous. Yeah. He wants his son to succeed. Mm-hmm. But he also wants him to do what's right. So it's like, "I'm proud of you, son." Like, he almost wants to say, "I'm proud of you, son, but know your place." No, but he just never.
That's exactly what he's saying, really, isn't it? Yeah. He's very in the sort of hierarchical class system. He sees the members of the club, the Captain Boothbys, and whoever is his superiors, his betters, in every shape of every meaning of that expression, he can't see past it.
And that is one bit, and I don't know if they meant to put it in the way it is, if that makes sense. But when he's just played Tommy, and then he's caddying for the gentleman, and the one hits his tee shot, and it lands like 6 inches in front of him.
Yeah.
And there's no like cheeky smirk on Mullan's face or anything. He just says, "Direction-wise, perfect drive, sir."
Yeah.
And it's not as if he's like smirking or laughing and go, "Fucking hell." He's genuinely, he knows his place. And he thinks like, I've got to say something positive here. So, and it is a funny line in terms of, it's great, but it's not like look at this old duffer, fucking hell.
Yeah.
And because he knows his place and he knows that that's society and that's where he belongs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mullan is actually absolutely brilliant in this. I mean, I don't think I've seen something with him in it where he hasn't been brilliant, to be fair, but I mean, he's great in this. I mean, the scene, that moment that you mentioned there, the scene when the kind of fight breaks out in the bunker, and he's like, oh, this isn't golf, and just sort of walks away. But then the scene that I think that he just fucking blows the bloody glass out the telly is when Tommy the Younger has passed away on the sort of chaise lounge in the living room, and it's not like a big wailing and greeting and huge histrionics and stuff. It's incredible. Even in that moment, you get the feeling that he needs to keep his dignity, but you can see the cracks around that sort of stoic kind of expression and stuff as he's kind of closing his son's eyes. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, really, really moving. The sort of turmoil that he's obviously devastated at the loss of his son, but there's still that stoic keeping up appearances, even though he's by himself in the room. I just thought it was in that moment. I thought, fucking hell, he is a phenomenal actor.
It's a heartbreaking scene, and the way he delivers it, and the scene I quite like, and it's almost a throwaway scene. But it sums up a lot of Tom's character for me, is on Hogmanay when he's speaking to his wife, Nancy, and she's effectively in bed. Like, she's not going round to Tommy's and Meg's. And, he says she's our daughter-in-law now. Mm-hmm. Like, Tommy loves her. We have to accept that and welcome her. And she's like, no. And you think, oh, fucking hell, Tom, you're such a nice guy. Like, you're right. Because prior to that, they are saying to him, look, you can't be with her. Like, she's no good. She's older than you. She's had a kid out of wedlock. But they've got married and he's accepted it in terms of like, well, okay, there's nothing I can do about it now. The only thing I can do is accept her and try and make it work. But Nancy obviously is full against it until Meg goes to see her. Yeah. No, he's great, and they, just his I think the strongest scenes are between him and Jack Louden, because I think Jack Loudon's phenomenal in this as well. Oh yeah, he is.
The scenes in the shop, and again, all that is quite interesting to me. And I think the sort of attention to detail in the production, I feel like it's really good, because especially in the shop, and they've got the clubs laid out and the stuff they're working on, they're having these little two-hander scenes. It feels like really kind of meticulously designed and it's really authentic.
And that's exactly, you're right. The production was very good in terms of all that stuff. And I did listen to a couple of podcasts, I think, that Jason Connery was on, and there was a lot went into it. Like, it's like a lot of the golf scenes were shot on like a field that they had got. But they did get to use a couple of golf courses. Yeah. And he said what they did was, thankfully, they persuaded them on a couple of holes to not mow them for a couple of weeks. Yeah. Like, don't cut the grass. And they used the rough for the fairway and the fairway for the bunkers. For the green. Sorry. The greens, because that's why the greens obviously look so bad. But that was just the way it was back then. But to come back to your point, you're saying like the scenes of the two of them together and when they're in the shop and stuff, that's exactly what I was alluding to earlier. I want to see more of them. I want to see more of those two together. I want to see more of them golfing. I want to see more of them like having the bickering or the story arc of the breaking this society and breaking, getting through to it. I want to see more of that rather than just the romance stuff. And I agree it was important, and it is because it's Tommy's story, but I want to see more of that.
The thing is, to your point, if we'd seen more of that, it would have made the game where the second to last game that we see, where it's the two Toms playing down in, like they're playing in Berwick, right, or somewhere like that, and it would have brought a lot more gravitas to the fact that these two men are playing golf together, like as a team, against the, that would have been a lot. It would have been, because again, didn't feel, apart from when old Tom has sort of seems to have got his head round his putting at last. You know what I mean? But if there had been a lot more conflict between the two Toms over the course of the film, get them putting their differences to one side to play and win at Berwick, it would have been. But instead, it's sort of used as a bit of a hook for young Tom being late for his the baby being born, and unfortunately the passing away of the baby and Meg, and and old Tom not giving him the note, and there was only 2 holes left and all that kind of thing. And again, like, you would expect something like that to be like a point of conflict for a long time in the film. Yeah. But it comes like sort of 15-20 minutes from the end. They have the conversation on the boat, but they don't really fall out about it. And then we have young Tom telling his dad that he forgives him when he's essentially dying.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, he's sort of, this has happened. He's been angry and he's forgiven his dad in the space of about 15 minutes of screen time,
Where do you stand on that? Do you think Tom was right not to give him the telegram? Like, they only had a few holes left, but it felt like a bit of a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, it did. I mean, look, that is supposed to have happened. If you read about, but it said that there was 2 holes left, and it said that they chose to play to the end before getting on the boat. Now, it could be a dramatic device. The whole young Tom not like old Tom keeping the telegram from his son until the end of the game, or probably more likely, because of the convention at the time, it was probably, well, we've only got 2 holes left, we'll play these, we'll get a dram in the bar in the club, and then we'll get up there. You know what I mean? Because it was a different time, right? The conventions were different. I think there's a little bit of this scriptwriter sort of trying to appeal to more modern sensibilities to create a dramatic moment. But then he sort of wastes that dramatic device because it comes too late in the film.
I mean, I agree with you in terms of, I think I would have liked to have seen more of a build-up. You're right, in terms of Tom and Tommy, in terms of that, when it leads like the second last match, they could have had a bit more of the relationship there. But then we'd have missed out on scenes like when Tommy buys Meg a dress and then a cake. We'd have missed out on vital scenes like that.
Expensive Belgian chocolates.
I'm kind of... In saying that, I am taking a piss out of scenes like that, but then another scene that you could class as filler that I absolutely love is when Andy Gray says, "What's first prize?" And he's like, a big goose. "What's second prize?" "A bottle of whiskey." And then he sclaffs his shot off to the side. He's like, now, that's a filler scene, but I'll keep that in. But cake, Belgian chocolates, and a dress, get to fuck.
But you do need a bit of that anyway. You need a bit of, I guess it's sort of building the world, isn't it? And it would be a much duller story without those peripheral characters. And the character who keeps trying to put old Tom off about his putting and all that. One of the brothers, the kind of heavy set guy. That's a good it's a good character.
Park.
Yeah, it's a good character. You know what I mean? Brings a little bit of levity to it, and it's rewarding when he ends up getting beat because he's been a bit unsportsmanlike by roasting old Tom about his putting, and old Tom's not reacting because that's the way he is, and he's just there to play golf, and then it turns out that he's been working on his putting, and he sort of puts him in his place, So it's important, but yeah. I just the whole even have a romantic story, but I think the sort of meat and potatoes of the film should be the relationship between the 2 Toms.
Yes.
And, if we're saying, right, we're focusing on the career of young Tom, then let's really focus on the career of young Tom. And let's, to your point, let's see him winning those Opens over the years. Let's see him playing more golf, and, and let's build up to these important matches, like the father and son team playing in Berwick, and then the final match for the ages as they're kind of billing it,
Although we've slagged it off, I do think the romance storyline it's okay, but it could have been a bit condensed. But Tommy and Meg, they're well suited. He wins her over, despite her sort of saying, she's too old for him. There's a lovely bit when he's trying to chat her up and he's speaking about how golf is all about taking risks and, there's no chance, but you'll see where it goes.
So what time do you finish your work?
How old are you, Tommy Morris?
How old do you think I am?
I'm 28 years old. Best find yourself a schoolgirl.
Do you know what I love most about golfing?
No. There are times when you've no hope of a shot, you've got no chance, it's impossible, but you try it anyway. You put everything that you've got into that shot, and then you just see where it goes.
He wins her over in the end, and then of course there's the struggle with the family, because mum and dad obviously don't approve when they find out about Meg and stuff, and that she had a baby. I did laugh out loud when the mum calls her a fornicatrix. And it's just the way that line is delivered. I burst out laughing at it, the way she just spits it out.
Yeah, and you know what? I think as much as I was taking the piss out her name, Ophelia Lovey-Bond is a good actress. And I've seen her in a couple of things. The only thing I really think that I've seen her in of note really is Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's a pretty small part she's got in that, but she's very good in this. I didn't realise that she wasn't Scottish. Her Scottish accent's good. And I think Jack Loudon is a fucking great actor.
Yeah.
Like, it was a really, really good actor. Like, I watched him in that Slow Horses, just the first series so far, that Slow Horses on Apple. And he's great in it, and he's he sort of shows here in this film that he can go up against a fucking acting heavyweight like Peter Mullan. He does that again in Slow Horses. He's acting against Gary Oldman, and it's a bit of in the first series it's quite a sort of combative relationship. Okay. Gary Oldman is fucking phenomenal in that Slow Horses. I mean, really, that's he's the one that you'll sort of go for Loudon and stay for Oldman, But, he's a fucking great actor, Jack Loudon, and he's very, very good in this. And I think, if this sort of love story in the hands of different actors, you'd probably have fast forwarded through it, probably, I think. But because it's those two, and, Loudon is fucking charming, when he's trying to court this woman, and, he's sort of taking her out, showing her a good time and buying her things and stuff. I mean, the charm is turned right up. So you can see how the kind of barriers would be broken down in her mind, despite the fact she's older, because he's a good looking guy and he's charming as fuck, and he's got a few quid in his pocket. But I'm sure that's not the reason.
No, she doesn't seem that she's interested in that for his money. She does genuinely seem to care about it. I mean, you could tell, because before he goes up and speaks to her, there are a few scenes she serves him in the restaurant kind of thing. She is flirting with him a little bit. She's kind of interested, but obviously knows that she's maybe a bit old for him. And you can tell, I do really like the scene when she, in Hogmanay, when she like storms out and goes and effectively has it out with his mum. To be like, you've got no right to speak to me like that and stuff. It's it shows that she's strong, and, she wins her over. And I agree, as you mentioned earlier, is a bit like, oh, really? She's won her over, and then, 2 scenes later, the mum's
best mates.
Best mates, and storming out of church. And, okay, would it really be that? It's exactly as you say, like, to the minister, who was probably one of the mum's kind of focal points or heroes, or, you do what the minister tells you, to basically stick 2 fingers up to him and saying, fuck you, God doesn't exist kind of thing. I know she doesn't say that, but you know what I mean. It's almost that way.
Yeah.
It does seem to maybe stretch it a little bit, but...
Your Tommy came looking for me.
Young men look for things.
I'm not a thing. I'm your son's wife. I'm Mrs. Thomas Morris, just as you are, and I'll thank you to remember it.
I was his mother before you were his wife.
Yes! You brought him into this world, hallelujah. You raised
You have
him up.
no right to speak to me like this.
I have the same rights as any wife.
But none of a mother.
I mean, but we've seen that kind of thing before in other films, like characters changing their beliefs to accept a new character, or whatever. It's not a particularly original kind of plot turn.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, like Axel Foley wins over Taggart and Rosewood in Beverly Hills Cop quite quickly. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they change their ways to be more like him, his maverick sort of approach to policing.
Bananas up the exhaust pipe and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, I thought that Sam Neill was perhaps a little wasted because, he's a big name in this, potentially the biggest name in this, like, internationally at the time. And he's, his part is, he only has maybe like, 3 or 4 scenes, really. He has the scene at the beginning, he has the scene when Tommy confronts him in his office And then the scene when he asks the guy if he wants to do a side bet, when it looks like Tommy might not win. I just thought, well, it's strange maybe he just likes playing golf and he was in Scotland when they were filming the film.
Maybe in Scotland for the summer. It's like, I'll do a few days work for you, no worries. We could do that.
Just get me a couple of rounds to St Andrews and I'll do whatever you want. Have you seen Sam Neill's James Bond?
No,
audition?
I haven't, no.
It's online. I think he's auditioning before they took Timothy Dalton on. So I think the scene this scene that he's playing is from the Living Daylights. It's a bit odd. He doesn't look like a James Bond. I mean, I like Sam Neill as an actor. He's great, but he doesn't. I don't know. I can't imagine him as James Bond.
No, I would agree with you. Possibly a bit of a waste, but it's a big name. Maybe that led to, as you say, would have been the biggest name at the time.
Bit more money.
Yeah, because I guess Peter Mullan, although probably being one of our finest actors, probably the finest actor from Scotland, probably not a massive name in the US.
No. This would have been just before Ozark, I think. Ozark was, 2018? So a couple of years before Ozark. But it'd be after Top of the Lake. I mean, that was quite successful, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was,
so...
so maybe...
But then I guess Jack Louden probably is creeping up there now with name recognition. Loudon, for me, the first thing that I really remember that I really watched him in was Caliber, when we covered it way back at near the very beginning of doing the podcast. I mean, and it turned out that he'd had a couple of small parts and things that I had seen, like what's it called, that Jack O'Donnell movie that's set in Belfast in the 70s where he plays a soldier who gets sort of separated in Belfast from his troop. It's a good film, actually. 71 it's called. But yeah, be in that, and then of course he's what's his name, Nolan had him in Dunkirk, quite a prominent role, and he's good in that. It's not a bad film, Dunkirk, actually. I would never say that in front of our mutual friend and president of the Christopher Nolan fan club, but I'll say it to you, it's actually not a bad film. It's not bad, Dunkirk. It's decent. Too early for me.
10 years too early.
10 years too early. But no, Jack Loudon's great. In fact, I might rewatch Caliber again at some point, because I've only seen it twice. I watched it a couple of years before the podcast, and then I watched it for the podcast. But I might watch it again. Really good. That's a fucking great film. Tony Curran's brilliant in that as well.
Yeah, he is. And it's got a good soundtrack.
Yeah, it does. I might go back and rewatch that at some point. In terms of the character of Tommy, obviously we said he dies at the end, and they say that he died of a broken heart. But I mean, no one else was ill that was out in the cold and the snow. Do you think his immune system was just fucked because he went on a massive bender after the death of his wife and child? Because he's just pissed the whole time after the wife and kid die, and his immune system must have been pretty low.
Well, I mean, his Wikipedia says he died of a pulmonary hemorrhage from from his lungs, which caused
pneumonia,
which caused apnea, which basically suffocates you. So, I mean, this is a time of, this is like the sort of apex mountain of lung diseases that aren't caused by smoking in the 19th century, like TB's doing well. It's pre-immunization. So, and, I mean, playing outside in the cold, you would, put everyone else had warmer clothes on. He's got he's got a bit of coal and a fucking backy tint to keep him warm, keep his hands warm, so about, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's quite romantic to think that he passed away on Christmas Day, 4 months after his family passed away of a broken heart, but who knows for sure.
I do like the stat still stands today that Tom is the oldest winner of the Open ever at 46 years and 102 days in 1867. And young Tom is still the youngest winner of the Open ever at 17 years and 156 days.
And the only person so far to win 4 consecutive Open.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Crazy. Yeah,
absolutely incredible. And I cannot see that ever being beat.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I think as well, I mean, there's famous footage of Tiger Woods being coached at golf by his dad when he was like tiny, right? It looks like he's about 5 or something. But the way that championship golf is sort of made up and the kind of club system and things, could a 17-year-old ever even play in the Open now? I mean, how old was McIlroy the first time he played in an Open?
Yeah, no, they definitely could.
They could?
Yeah, they could. There was a youngster a couple of years ago. God, what was his name? He was only about 16. And he did really well. Can't remember. Yeah, but they can qualify through like the amateur way.
Right.
I can't remember his name now. That's going to annoy me. But there was a young kid that was only like 16. I think it was a couple of years ago in the Open, and he did really well.
Right.
But yeah, so it is possible, but it's unlikely.
It's unlikely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I keep meaning to watch. I keep meaning to watch that documentary series about golf on Netflix. You watched it. You said it was good, right?
It's good. I mean, it's mostly American golfers. It's about the PGA Tour.
Right.
So it's all American. McIlroy, isn't it? There's a couple of English golfers that are on the PGA Tour. This guy, Nick Fitzpatrick. It's good. But it is good. It's worth a watch. Definitely. I would definitely say it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, anything else on Tommy's Honour before we move on to the categories?
No, I mean, as I say, I think I did enjoy it, despite my prejudice against the setting of time. Yeah, Mullan's great, Loudon's great, and, one of the first things I said, I was so delighted to see Andy Gray. Like, so delighted, because I had no idea he was in it. So I was really pleased to see him. But no, I enjoyed it. And I mean, let's be honest, I've watched it twice this week to make my notes. Probably never watch it again, but at least I've watched it and enjoyed it. So that's all I can say.
So at the 2016 Scottish BAFTAs, the 3 nominees for Best Film were Tommy's Honour, which obviously won, Sunset Song, which, based on a very famous book set in the northeast of Scotland, and Moondogs, which is like a science fiction-y film. And obviously Tommy's Honour won. For the Best Actor, Louden was up for Best Actor, but it was awarded to Peter Mullan for the film Hector, which I'm not sure to have a look at that at some point. I've thought about picking it for Christmas at one point, because it's about a man who walks from Glasgow to London at Christmas. Yeah, but that looks to be the only nominations that the film has had, and obviously it won 50% of its nominations, so that's not a bad ratio. Not quite as good as Young Tommy's stat, but it's not bad. Right then, so let's put Tommy's Honour through our coveted Culture Swally awards. So the first award, as always, is the Bobby the Barman Award for Best Pub in Tommy's Honour.
There's a couple, isn't there? There's a couple of clubhouses that they're in.
Yeah.
I think it's the pub that he goes to with his pals. Seems like quite a nice little pub.
Yeah,
I
couldn't choose, so I've just put any of the pubs that we see them in, because they all look like a good time to me. So
they did. Yeah, no, I'd agree. I'd pick any of them. So yeah.
Next then, patron saint of the Culture Swally, James Cosmo, his award for being in everything Scottish. What was your choice here?
Torn between Peter Mullan and Andy Gray.
Yeah.
Andy Gray's in a lot, but so's Mullan. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between those two. What about you?
I mean, I gave it to Andy Gray just because I feel like we've given it to Mullan before.
Yeah,
and I like it was nice to see Andy Gray, like you described. Unfortunately, he's obviously not with us anymore, very sadly. But it was nice to see him, and he's having a good time. He's making the most of that. It's not a very big part, but he brings a lot to it. Okay, next award then, the Jake McQuillan Your Teazoot Award for violence, gratuitous violence, of which there's not a lot, but there is a bit of violence. What did you go for?
I went for the fight in the bunker at Musselburgh. That was it, really, isn't it?
Has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, and what was that guy all about? Fucking that big tall fella, kicking
the ball.
Old Tom's ball. I mean, he should have got his fucking nuts cracked for that. So he should have.
Yeah. But then Old Tom's like, it's fine, I'll play it where it lies. I'd be like, no. I'd be like, put that fucking back. No. You cheeky cunt.
Fucking lanky cunt. Okay, next then, the Ewan McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. Not really any nudity, is there?
There's none at all. No, there's no nudity at all.
Clean family film. Next then, there's the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing, but again, it's a family film, not really any gratuitous. Oh, I don't think there's any F-bombs, is there, like, are dropped?
No, I mean, as you said before, because I've got it written down, there's only the one that really, and it's at Musselburgh, just before the fight in the bunker, and the guy says, "Bugger off, champion golfer of shite." But you've previously said that you only think that F-bombs and C-bombs are gratuitous use of swearing.
Yeah, it's not really gratuitous. It's just sort of, you use that kind of language in front of, like, your granny, you know what I mean? Like, so, well, I mean, I wouldn't, but some people would. And then next, archetypal Scottish moment.
What did you go for?
I went with golf in any weather.
Yeah. It's not bad, actually. Yeah, it's good.
What did you go for?
Golf in general. The obvious one is Auld Lang Syne at Hogmanay, of course.
Yes.
I went with Andy Gray choosing a bottle of whiskey over a goose.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Who wants a fucking goose? Give me a bottle of whiskey instead. No goose, get me the grouse. I mean, don't get me the grouse, to be honest, because grouse is fucking horrible, but never mind.
Yeah, for sure. And then last award then, the Big Tam Awards. Who wins the film for you?
Who wins the film for you, Greg? Who did you go for?
I mean,
it's one of two, obviously.
I had to give it to Mullan. I just thought, I mean, the scene when young Tom arrives to find that Meg has passed away. I thought Jack Louden was brilliant in that scene as well, like really, really good. But I think Mullan, it's just, and maybe like when Jack Loudon's a wee bit older, he might have some of these qualities, but I mean, he's only 34. But Mullan, just, like everything, even his physical performance, as like the older old Tom talking to the journalist with his stick and his beard's greyer and he's sort of hunched over a wee bit and everything, and there's a wee bit more lines on the face and whatnot. It's just phenomenal. I think he's just such a good actor. Did you agree, or did you choose someone else?
That's exactly as you said. I think Loudon's great. He's brilliant in it. Really great performance. But you can't be Peter Mullan. No. Jesus. And exactly as you said, Loudon's character is pretty much the same character up until Meg dies, really.
Yeah.
And then he's the same character after that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas Mullan goes through like the whole range of things. You see him angry, you see him funny, you see him kind of sad, you see him.
Yeah.
He's such a well-rounded character. I just wish there'd been a bit more screen time for him. Like, I know he's in it a lot, but like I say, I just wish we'd seen more of a relationship between the two Tommies. But but never mind, it is what it is. But overall, good film. But yeah, you have to give it to Mullan. It's
sort of hard to see Jack Loudon as a caner because he's young, very, very good looking guy. The scene when he's kind of behind the front door with the bottle of whiskey in his arm and stuff, I kind of thought, I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
He just, I'm just not sure that he looks like the sort of fella who's like loves a few pints and a few drams and a bit of crack down the pub. He's too good looking,
Yeah. Takes his golf too seriously to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, so Tommy's Honour was my choice, which means the bottle of choice spins back to you. What are we watching for the next episode of the Culture Swally?
Well, I had something in mind, Greg. In fact, I had something in mind for the last episode as well, like that I chose. Now, I will pick it eventually, but I've delayed it again for a little bit because we've mentioned this a few times recently, and I thought it'd be a good idea to tidy things up. So we're going to go with something released in 2013, but set in 1984, as we look at the second and last series of The Field of Blood.
Ah, brilliant. Yeah, that's been on my radar a wee bit for a while and I keep picking something else. So great, I look forward to that.
Yeah, so I thought it was a good chance to catch up with the Field of Blood crew and see what's happening in 1984.
Brilliant.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us on cultureswally@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the socials. We're on Insta @cultureswallypod, or we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, @swallypod. And Greg, we have a wonderful website as well, don't we?
Yep, you can find us at cultureswally.com, where there's links to all the episodes, some articles about Scottish media, Sean Connery, Scottish horror, a few bits and bobs. So come along, give us a visit, and let us know what you think.
Fantastic. Well, as I say, by the time this episode's released, I'd imagine Scotland will be out of the Euros. And it'll be a football free zone on the next episode because basically the Euros will be over for us.
Did you hear they're saying that like 4% of the Scottish population Germany at the minute.
Yeah, it's like 200,000 people. Yeah.
Can you imagine? It'd be brilliant to be there.
It would be brilliant, but it'd also be a bit. I think I'd be quite annoyed if I'd spent all that money going there and then got my ticket, went to the game, and then saw us getting scudded 5-1. It's like a good atmosphere. Did you hear the Glasgow airport? I think on Thursday morning ran out of tenants.
Yeah, and then Edinburgh airport ran out shortly thereafter as well.
That's a fucking disgrace, come on. Poor bastards having to sit there drinking Stella or something. All they're wanting is a pint of tenants. Anyway, right, I'm off to go and watch Poland against my adopted country, the Netherlands. Right, Greg, well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time for The Field of Blood, Series 2.
See you next time.
It's been 8 years since Colonel Fairley and the Earl of Eglinton asked me to organise the first Open Championships. The Prestwick Club donated a fine Moroccan leather belt as a trophy, and we declared first champion would hold that belt for 1 year before passing it on to his successor. We also declared that should any man win that belt 3 years in a row, that man would keep that belt in perpetuity. Bit of trickery that was. After all, who could do such a thing?
Not you, Tom Morris. 2 wins in a row was your limit.
Aye, it was. I am very, very proud to say that the ultimate winner of this prize, of that belt, is my very own son, Thomas Morris Jr.